How are you? Welcome to the Entrepreneur Experiment podcast with me, Gary Fox. Today, my guest is an exceptional entrepreneur. This is one of my favorite chats of the entire year, if not the entire podcast. This is Jacqueline O'Donovan. She's an exceptional entrepreneur and one of the most remarkable people I've met in this entire journey. If that hasn't hyped you up enough, here is my chat with Jacqueline O'Donovan. I'm building much more than a podcast with the Entrepreneur Experiment and I have a very clear vision of what I'm trying to achieve. One of those goals was to get involved in funding Irish businesses, and I've just achieved that goal. I've joined the Quintus Capital team as a special advisor to the EIS Innovation Fund. I spent the last couple of years getting to know the team, learning about the industry, and the time has come to join forces. The EIS Innovation Fund has invested in several of the podcast guests you know and love already, such as Matthew and Katie from Squid and Peggy Crowley of Brown Wellbeing, which has made the decision to join the fund a really, really simple one. EIS Tax Relief provides significant tax refunds to investors who back Irish SMEs. However, the main issue with EIS is finding the right companies to invest in. This is where the EIS Innovation Fund comes in. It has an experienced management team to allocate your capital. They're now raising capital for November and December to deploy in 2024. If you are interested in becoming an investor, please visit eis.fund, so EIIS.fund, or download a copy of the online brochure in the show notes. I've got a massive ambition for this podcast. I want to make this the #1 business podcast in the world. If I'm going to do that, I've got to be world class on every single level. And that includes having a world class studio, which I now have at iconic offices, the Green Room. It's an incredible space. I first recorded here with my live pod back in June and I loved it. And get this, it's publicly bookable. That means you can go online and book it right now. As I said, it's called the Green Room. It's a private cinema and screening room. That means it's perfect to wow a client with a pitch, host a private screening, or do what I do, record a podcast here. So, as I record here, and as you know, I'm a member of Iconic Offices, I've got the team at Iconic Offices to hook us up with a number of exclusive complimentary office trials and discounts for my audience for booking this exact space. No catches. Simply go to the web link in the description, grab the offer that works best for you. Thanks, Iconic Offices. Ever find yourself jumping from task to task? Sudden eureka moments at the weirdest hours, and you forget little details? Does that sound familiar? That might be ADHD, and ADHD Now are here to help. Their experienced clinical professionals conduct video consultations at your schedule and help you manage and understand these symptoms, turning them into your unique assets. Visit adhdnow.ie/Fox and use the code FOX10 at checkout for 10% discount on your initial consultation and full assessment. Jacqui, welcome to the pod.
Thank you.
You made me second guess myself there as I was introing you. I saw an interview with you 2 years ago, and since then, I was like, I have to get Jacqui on the pod.
I would have come sooner if you'd invited me.
No, but that's a fair point, actually, isn't it? Well, you've been a bit busy. You've been a little bit busy in the last 2 years. What's been going on?
Well, you know, they say if you want something done, always ask a busy person. What's been going on? We've sold the family business and we've been through COVID and back out the other side. So, yeah.
And the family business is what?
It's O'Donovan Waste Disposal, born in 1959 by my late father. Unfortunately, he died at the young age of 51. I was 17 and we had to downscale and restart because he had a phenomenal business. And we restarted and not sure how. I'm the youngest of four and I became the MD at 19.
That was my biggest question. How? MD at 19 and the youngest of four.
Do you know what? There just wasn't a discussion. I think it had a lot to do with the fact that my sister had gone off to have my niece. So I was the only one left in the office with one employee. So the office was me and another girl that went to school with the brother that's up for me. So we go me, boy, girl, boy. So I think it was just merely I was the only one in the office. I was the girl. I was doing the paperwork. So you're the MD.
And what were the brothers doing?
They were out driving lorries.
Right.
Yeah.
So it literally was starting again.
Starting again, yeah. Yeah. Back to basics.
Is that what you wanted to do? Did you want to become...
No. Never in a million years did I ever think that I would be sitting here now talking about what I have done. I wasn't very academic, didn't understand school. My parents came to London in the 50s, so they weren't greatly educated, so they couldn't help us. And I think classrooms of 32, I just didn't get English, I just didn't get grammar. And when I was 16, I ran out the door saying, "Well, hey, see you later. I'm off." So me and a friend decided that we were going to be childminders.
Why?
Because I did really well in my child development exam.
Okay. Right.
So that was obviously the obvious thing to
Clearly,
do, wasn't
yeah,
it?
let's do it.
So we got a job in a RAF camp in Germany. And thank God the kids were saved. But unfortunately, my dad died between getting the job and going there. So that was all cancelled. It was all hands to the pump. Mum was only 48. Being the youngest, I was left at home with Mum. I'm not sure how long for, because it's quite hazy. It was because it was just such a shock to us. My brother had been married 3 weeks when Dad died.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so yeah, 19 MD, and as I say, the rest is history.
Did you even think about that at 19? Because, like, if someone was made MD now at 19, there'd be a big thing about it. Like, but did you even kind of go, "Oh, it's a lot of pressure," or did you just go, "This just has to be done"?
Pressure's only for tyres.
Okay.
No, it has to be done. Yeah, job's got to be done. It's just got to be done, and I just got on with it.
Was that your first experience of the business, though?
Oh yeah, that was my first experience at work. I'd never had a job before. Our Saturday work was get down the office and clean it and brush it and hoover it and tidy the desks. So I didn't have a Saturday job. I've never, to this day, had a job interview.
I love that.
Yeah.
First job, last job.
Yeah, never. Well, I don't know about last job.
We're getting to that.
Watch this
We're
space.
getting to that. Don't worry. I'll tee that one up lovely later. Don't you worry. We have to shout something out because we have a massive and ferocious Cork listenership.
Oh, yeah.
And they will claim you all day long now. West Cork is where it all began.
Oh, West Cork is where it all began and where it all continues. My happy place. Yes, my mum and dad were both born in a village called Goleen near the Mizenhead. And Dad moved then when he was 5 to Dremel and he drove for Drina Co-op and went off to London because he heard the streets were paved with gold. And then he used to ring Mum every Sunday and then he sent the money over for the boat trip and then Mum joined him and so they were in their early 20s. So I suppose for a few years they were doing different roles, different jobs. Dad worked on the railway, Mum worked in a factory. Then they came back to Ireland. That didn't suit them. So on the way back over, the brother above me was born. So he's actually a dub.
On the way back over?
Yeah. He came early. So he was born in Dublin. So they went back and Dad started at demolition. And then he started in waste management. And he just grew it. It was just a phenomenal business when he passed away, which was so unfortunate because when the brother got married, I think he thought that was the cue to let him then have his space to build the company.
Right, okay.
But I have a house in Goleen. I absolutely love it. It's my happy place. It's where I do the best of my brainstorming and chilling and, yeah.
It's beautiful to have that link, though, isn't it? It's beautiful to go the full circle and have that narrative link
If I had a magic wand, I'd have an Irish accent. I think the Irish are so unique. No matter where you go in the world, the minute you hear the accent, you go, "Oh, you're from Ireland. Where are you from?" And I don't think any other nationality have that. And
well, you do use your man, so I think that makes you pretty much very close to it.
Yeah.
Now that you're retired, though, Jacqui, right? It's going to be, here we go, it's going to be gardening in West Cork. And I think you're a big golfer as well.
Yeah, I play with balls, but not them ones.
So, no golf, no gardening.
No.
What are we going to do?
What are we going to do? I'm going to conquer the world. The sale of the business has just inspired chapter 2. Probably at a rate that I'd like to slow down. But the ideas, every time I wake up, I just have got a new idea. My PA doesn't know if it's Monday or Friday or if she's upside down or backwards, because I just keep coming up with these mad ideas. And and I've got to say, when I put my mind to something, I'd succeed. There is no such thing as failure.
I love that. Bring me back to why you sold the business, though. We'll go full circle about the business and everything. But why did you sell it? Because it sounds like the energy coming off you and the passion coming off you is you can feel it. It didn't seem like that would be something you'd step away from.
Yeah, I think that energy and that passion runs through me no matter what I do. So whether I'm doing something for a charity or whether it's my day-to-day job or it's something I'm doing for the family, my passion is very evident. But my older brother decided that he was approaching a big birthday and it was time to get out, and we went about finding someone to lead us through that process.
How did you feel about that, though? Were you ever tempted to go, I'll take the whole thing over myself?
No, the four of us have done everything together the whole of our lives. So it was never an option.
Really? Never even crossed your mind?
No, never even crossed my mind.
Fascinating.
No. Never even crossed my mind. So he told me what he wanted, so I got on and I did it. And we sold in May 21. And I did my earn out in, May 22, did my earn out in May 23. And so I'm slowly exiting the business as we speak. And they've bought their second acquisition in the UK, and they're just about to buy their third acquisition.
Okay.
So they're from the Nordics. So that they really want to make things different. They're very corporate, which is a shame because we were so family orientated, a real family business. So hopefully it will run smoothly for the staff, which is paramount for me.
How did it feel? I always ask this question. I always have to preface it with, how did it feel the day you sold and then kind of the day your earn out kind of ended?
So it's actually quite funny. So I had the solicitor that was dealing with the deal for me was my solicitor for 25 years. So he knew me inside out. And he rang me up on the Thursday and he said, right, we need to do the signing on the Tuesday. You can come up here to Northampton, which is probably about a 2-hour drive, or you can do it on e-doc. And I went, no, I've got to come up. And he said, well, the differences are, and he spent 10 minutes explaining the differences. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I can't interrupt him because he's on a roll now. And I went, no, I'm coming up. And I said, it's been the whole of my life. I'm not going to do it on a computer. I need to sign the actual forms.
Yeah.
And when I got there on the Tuesday, he didn't have a lot of hair, bless him. He was pulling the bit of hair out he had. So he had his replacement. So he was due to retire. And he had his replacement working on the deal with him. He decided to go on holiday because the deal went on a little bit longer than it should have. So he had to deal with all the signing of the documents. Okay. And it was like 25 million decks of cards out on the table. And I had to go round the table all the way around signing forms. And then he went out to make sure to the girls that they were done right. And he just left me sit in the room. And it was like...
Was it anticlimactic?
Yeah, really. It was like, that's it. What, that's it? Right, okay. I don't feel any different. Should I feel anything? And that was it.
What next? What'd you do when you left that office?
Went back to work.
You didn't?
Yeah.
You went back to work?
Went back to work, yeah. It was the weirdest, yeah. I don't know what I was expecting. I think an awful lot of people were expecting for me that it was going to be some massive, exciting revelation, whatever. But yeah, it's very hard to, I get it off my mother, it's very hard to excite me. I don't get excited very easily, nor does my son. So I put it down to that, I suppose.
And then kind of as the year went on, did it change? Did the feelings change, or did you kind of feel the same, or did you just...
No, so the company that bought us obviously bought us during COVID and as we were coming out of COVID, so they put an earn out, a 12-month earn out. So I turned around and said, well, if you're putting an earn out, I'm staying for 12 months. There's no one going to get the numbers like I'm going to get the numbers, so I'm not going to risk it giving it to someone else to do that. So I stayed, and no, I ran it exactly the same way as I ran it for the 35 years previous.
How did you learn this, Jacqui? Because you went in at 19, MD at 19, no real experience apart from the Saturday job.
No experience.
How did you learn it?
My Saturday job was cleaning.
Well, I thought by osmosis you'd pick up something.
No.
Where's that truck going?
No. Learned to drive a lorry at 11. Yeah, no, I didn't go to any business school. I suppose the first thing I realised was that you need certain licenses within our industry, and as years have gone on, regulations have got stronger. So the first one I needed was I needed to be a transport manager. So I needed to go to night school, which I went to in Willesden in northwest London, and I passed that qualification because we needed a transport manager.
You have to be qualified to legally do that, is it?
Yeah, under the Department of Transport to operate vehicles.
Right.
So that was my first one under my belt. And then as time got on, I could see the industry just needed dragging into the 21st century. So I suppose I've put my own self on that mission to try and spread the word of how an SME, a small medium enterprise, a family business, can do things, can train staff and make a profit. I think there's a myth that training people costs money and it's just off the bottom line. But what they don't realise is, okay, training does come off the bottom line, but the profit that you get and the lower insurance rate because your accidents are lower, your drivers are better trained, your retention of staff, so you're not advertising so much, you're not training as much, so they're working more than in training, is definitely outweighs the costs.
Isn't it mad how that's the prevalent attitude? Even still, I think, in modern world, there's a lot of there's a great phrase, I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head, what if you train your staff too well, they might leave. I think the other thing is if you don't train them, they might stay.
Yeah.
And you're just stuck with staff who are undertrained, who are ill-equipped.
I firmly believe education is the key in any business, because they, we've got people that handle waste. It's a low-paid, labour-intensive job, but I invested in them, and I got them MVQs in the day and qualifications, and they felt that I had invested in them. So I've got people that are doing the most menial tasks but have been there for 20 odd years because I invested time in them. And I said to them happy birthday when it was their birthday. And I said hello to them when I was doing my audit around the yard in my boots and my high vis and my hard hat. So yeah, I really do think that an awful lot of people don't understand the savings that training create is just enormous.
A lot of good entrepreneurs I talk to just have this thing, just be sound.
Yeah.
Just be sound with people. And it's amazing. People think, high wages and this, that and the other. It's really just human. Be a good human.
Yeah. One thing I've never learnt, though, is the titles. People are so hooked on titles, which just makes me laugh.
I think comes a lot from the tech industry because they have to kind of keep moving people up the corporate hamster wheel. So they have to give you a new title every
I just find
every
that so
18
funny,
months.
Yeah. When the phone rings and I answer, they say, can I say your name? I say, yes, Jacqui.
But to be fair, when you're MD at 19, not much nowhere to go really, is there? Only down.
Down the slippery pole. No, thankfully I held on.
It's interesting though that you had such a passion for training and you didn't like school.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. And it's probably the fact that they didn't spend the time to teach us right. So maths, I was very good at maths. And actually looking back, my maths teacher, I'll never forget him, was Mr. Cox. And he probably was only about 22 or 23. But, in our early teenage years, he probably looked a lot older. But he would give us a lesson. And every one of them would go, Jack, what's he saying? Jack, explain what is he saying? Right. And I'd stand up and I'd say, he's saying this. And they'd go, why can't you just do it like Jack just done it? And I used to actually have to convert what he said to the classroom so they could understand.
So you could process and comprehend it and then explain it in a simpler way. That's a huge talent, though, isn't it?
Yeah, he just didn't have that talent. And then the English teacher just lost me completely. And she wouldn't wait for me because I didn't understand you. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I left school not knowing what a comma or a full stop was. So I used to read lines and lines. And of course, when you read a line without a comma and a full stop, nothing makes sense.
Doesn't make sense, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I think when you're teaching, look, we chatted about this off camera as well. I think when you're teaching with like 20, 30, 40 people, it's very hard for everyone to go at the same pace. And it's very, people are going to get left behind or people are going to find it too slow. Education system is still probably still letting a lot of people down, I think.
Definitely. I definitely think that, I think both in England and Ireland, I think the education system just needs a complete overhaul. The things I learnt at school, have I put any of them to use? Probably one or two. I just don't think it prepares the youth for what hits them when they reach. Especially
entrepreneurship and, the world of work. There's definitely like a lot of skills there that could be taught that aren't. Even this, communication. Communication is the biggest one. And people are like, oh no, I don't like sales. And it's just communication.
Yeah.
Can you speak to someone at their level? Can you? Yeah. And what you said there is really interesting about can you understand something and then repeat it to someone in a clearer way?
Yeah.
So obviously you clearly had those natural. I want to talk to you about the intensity piece because you talk about how you do anything is how you do everything. I'm a big believer in that, and I literally had that chat with there was the National Startup Awards last week, and I was speaking at it, and I said that it's like two great traits every entrepreneur has: consistency and intensity.
Yeah, I'd say passion as well.
Well, that's definitely evident, but the intensity every single day. Did that come from your dad, your mum? Was it just always in you? Where did that come from?
I think it's a mixture of both. So I was 17 when Dad died, but being the youngest, I was Daddy's little girl.
Yeah.
So I spent an awful lot of time with him. After school, weekends, holidays. I'd be in the car with him. I'd go to site with him. Every single holiday, Dad didn't fly, so we drove over.
Didn't like it, or?
He hated flying.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, we drove over, did the boat.
Ferry over.
The ferry over. It used to take us weeks to get to West Cork because he knew someone in every county, and we had to stop and we had to visit.
Call him for tea.
Yeah,
5 minutes.
Coke,
2 hours later.
and the rubber. You remember the rubber rings on?
Oh
yeah. We used to play that for days on end. I think I get different aspects of my personality from my mum and my dad.
So bring me back to 19. You're sitting in the office, you and one other person, the two lads are out in the trucks. How do you go from that? So I think it was 175k turnover back when you started, up to 20 million plus.
Yeah.
Big jump.
Yeah.
Bring me through the early years, because I think they're the formative things. I always say, when people go from 0 to 1, in your case, you're just going in, right, scale this,
Yeah, I suppose my first challenge was back in the day. It was cash. Everything was cash. People paid in cash. We had to pay wages in cash. So we had to bank the cash during the week. Then we had to draw the cash out on a Friday to pay the wages. And we were with an Irish bank. Dad was with an Irish bank. And I'll never forget, in them days, it was queues after queues, cashiers, totally different to how it is now. And I remember the bank manager beckoning me over and saying to me, keeping in mind I was probably 18 at this stage, and he turned around and he said, sorry, he said, none of you are going to be anything like your father. He was a phenomenal character, and he was, and none of you are old enough to run the business.
Wow.
So he said, we're going to have to close the account. And I went, okay. And then I went away, scratched my head. I thought, right, now I need to find a bank and get a bank account. So I went to another Irish bank who I was with until they sold up and left the UK. So that was my first challenge. My second challenge was everywhere we had a yard, they wanted to build a block of flats. So I decided, we spotted a yard. It had a 10-year lease. Now, when you're 19, signing a 10-year lease is
forever.
Is like signing a 100-year now. And it was like, whoa, is this going to work? Is it going to, is it too big? We had a suite of 6 offices and a workshop underneath. There was 2 of us in the office. So you can imagine how daunting this building was to me at 19 to sign a lease for 10 years. And it was a school friend of my brother's that was in the office with me. And we had 3 phones, one on that desk on one side, one over here, and the third one was back on the same desk. So if the second phone rang, you used to have to run across the office to get it, and if the third one rang, you had to run back again. And it was literally that. Everything was paper. I had a bookkeeper that came in once a month to update the paper ledgers. God, I'm showing my age now. And then I remember, and actually he's still a very good friend of my older brother's now, we got this fella come in from a leasing company. I'll never forget it. He had a shirt collar like Harry Enfield, you know, that really big
Big
shirt,
one, yeah, big pointy
and
one.
he had Cuban heels on because he's challenged in the height area.
Cuban heels, bold choice.
Yeah, and he came in his white MR2 sports car.
Nice.
And we needed to lease a computer.
Wow.
Now
okay.
I'm talking the ones with the backs that like that big, and he turned us down. £1,500 the computer was, and he turned us down. And he's now probably my older brother's best friend. And every time we go out, he hates it because, of course, the computer story comes up. But to go back to those days, to think that we couldn't afford a £1,500 computer is mad. It really is mad. And I think the fact that we couldn't afford that we had to get a lease one, and we got one eventually. I can't remember where we got it eventually, but it's probably kept me very well grounded. You know, with Mum and Dad, we were born in Kilburn, bar the one brother in Dublin. And, you know, we were 6 in a one-bedroom flat. I was in a cot till I was 5 because there was no room for a bed.
Wow.
The 2 middle kids were top to toe, and the older brother was on top bunk. So I think it did us no harm. And I've got a son of 24, and I've tried my hardest to keep him grounded, and touch wood, it's working. You know, you have to graft for what you want, and if you want it, then you have to work for it.
I love that. I think it's a very important message. Like
massive.
People, there's a real rush to immediacy these days. There's a real rush to, like, that's why I was so dying to chat to you, because like to build a business over such a period of time, like everything, 18 months they scaled up and sold. There's this myth that it happens real fast, when in reality these great businesses are built over time. They're built with sweat. They're built, and the great entrepreneurs I chat to, they all start with very little.
Yeah.
They all start with just, we bootstrapped it, and then we got 1 customer, then we got 2, then we got 3, and they're the stories I love, because they're the real ones. They're the ones that are grounded and real, and they're the ones that people listening to actually relate to, going, I actually could do that. Like, I remember the way Jacqui said this, that's how I am now. And that relatability, like we talked about that before, like, you know, being real.
Yeah.
Can you talk to people? Can you be honest? Can you be real? And can you say, there's 6 of us in a 1-bed flat? You know, can you be honest and open? Because, like, people like to portray a certain image sometimes.
Sometimes they do, yeah. The fake ones do, yeah.
You're wearing the suit and you're giving the PowerPoint slides, and you like to say, this is how it is. Well, that's a great phrase, like, business isn't run on PowerPoint. You know, it's run in the real world where it's messy and it's grimy. So you built it up. And then was there ever kind of tension between you and the brothers, between, like, when, as things started to grow, did any of them kind of think, I want to step into the top seat here, I want to crack at the title?
No, never. They never, ever questioned anything I did. And if I was doing anything major, so we bought a site in Wembley, and it was a major purchase back in 2015, and it was millions, but I knew it was what we needed. We'd been renting for 12 years, and in those 12 years of renting a site in northwest London, we could have bought this site 3 times over.
Wow. What was the site for?
It was a transfer station, so it was a recycling centre, but I wanted to build it state of the art. I wanted it to be something that people wanted to come and visit, people wanted to see how it worked. And when I sat down with them, whatever you think, Jack. And no matter what decision or what I wanted to do, so I started a pension fund off for us. We can buy commercial property. I'm going to look at buying a Tesco's in Scotland. Are you okay with that? Whatever you think, Jack. So we did that, and we rented that out for years. We bought the site in Wembley. I designed and built it with a company up in Yorkshire. I was on site every week. I was telling them how to fix the ramp or the door or the ceiling. They couldn't work out why I wanted it this way or that way, But of course, I knew my industry, so I knew how it had to be. It's got a 60,000 litre water harvesting system. It's got a siphonic drainage system from the roof, so the water comes through the roof into the downpipes are all inside, not outside.
Okay.
So it works like a cyclone, and it goes into the water harvesting tanks. So
wow.
we use water to suppress dust. So it was all reusable. All the kit in the plant was electric. It was negative pressure, so no dust emissions go out. It all stays in. So it was exactly what I wanted. It's 12 metres high, and it's in the cork colours, and you can see it if you're coming in.
I love that.
If you're coming
Little
in from
touch.
Heathrow, if you catch the arch of Wembley, look across, you'll see the red building.
I love that little touch.
Yeah.
The devil in the detail, right?
And do you know, I don't know how many people said to me, there is no way you're going to get it in your corporate colours. And our corporate colours are red and white for cork.
Nice.
And I said, you watch this space. So they, when I went to see the planners, I said, like, we've got minor changes from the people we bought it. They've got it in their corporate colours. We'll want it in our corporate colours. Yeah, no problem. Don't need to do any application for that. All you need to do is just write down, just send us in something. And my commercial director had done a complete big massive paragraph about the Pantone colour, and it's like post office red. It's like real vivid red.
Yeah.
And I scrubbed it all out, and I said, as agreed, it's going to be in our corporate colours. And in brackets, I put red, close brackets, and no more questions were asked. And there is my red building.
I love it. If you're explaining,
simple.
you're losing. Just keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
I'm kind of understanding now how you've just held that empty title for so long, because it's just definite.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you want. So as you grew it then, did you ever encounter, call it what it is, sexism in a very male-dominated industry?
I still today find it. I mean, I still today can go into a room or a meeting or a working group and still be the only female sitting there. But it doesn't bother me. It bothers the men. It doesn't bother me.
How did you view it? How did you, when you experienced it back?
Knowledge is power. And I know my stuff.
Right.
So that carries me. I think the men in the room that it concerns, I think, is because they don't know their stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I would never walk into a working group where I couldn't add value or didn't feel that I had a case to express to the people. And I do most of my work groups, committee meetings, sitting on different groups for the good of the small, medium enterprise in London and the UK, because they haven't got a voice. And the reason they haven't got a voice is because predominantly, as we all know, the Irish built Britain. They weren't very educated. It was construction they went into. So they fear authority and regulation, whereas I don't, because I make it my business to find out. So if someone says something to me and I don't know the answer, I'll go away and I'll find the answer.
Right.
And I've got.
Did you see that as a
hunger.
competitive advantage? Did you think, right, I'm never going to walk into a situation where I don't know what the answer is going to be here?
I've never walked into a situation where I've never known the answer. I've always known the answer. And it's always been the right answer. I can honestly sit here in this chair and tell you I've got no regrets, personal or business, to this day.
How do you do that? How do you not have regrets?
I don't have any regrets. I don't regret any move, decision, anything I've done whatsoever in my personal life and in my work life. And I think I'm very, very lucky to be able to say that. But I think it's a testament to probably my determination. I'm a Libran, so I will weigh things up. But once I make that decision, I stick by that decision.
That decisiveness,
Yeah.
just...
Yeah.
So you'll get the info,
No.
process, goes back to
Yeah.
probably the school thing we talked about earlier. You get the info, process, distill it, and act.
Yes, that's it. Execution, and that's it. Done. Box ticked.
Is that your advice to all founders, but in particular female founders listening?
Yes. I find I mentor an awful lot of people, both female and male. With the females, I do find that they doubt themselves, and I don't know why. I don't understand why females doubt themselves, because when you look at what they can achieve in a day, you look at, let's just take a random woman with 2 kids and a job. So she gets the 2 kids up for school, she feeds them, she gets their uniforms on them, packed lunch maybe, sports day kit, whatever, out the door to her job, kills her job in the day, goes and collects the kids back off the childminder, gets them home, does their homework, bath, bed, routine, feeds them, keeps the husband's dinner going, washing machines on, dishwashers on, and then she sits down for the 10 o'clock news before she goes to bed and does whatever she wants to do, read her book, her creams or facials or whatever she has to do. But the amount that women can achieve is phenomenal, and they should never, ever doubt themselves.
I read a great interview. You said, stop saying sorry.
Stop saying sorry.
I love that.
How many women I meet and go, oh, sorry. Why are you sorry? Oh, I don't know. Well, why are you saying sorry? Oh, I don't know. Well, then stop saying it.
It's a very Irish thing as well.
Yeah, it's a very
It's
Irish
a very
thing.
Irish thing.
It
I
is a
think
very Irish thing, yeah.
it's a big Irish thing.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
It's compulsion. And then if you layer that on, the sexism that many female founders face as well, it's a double whammy, right?
It is, yeah.
Are things getting better?
Slowly, but very slowly. And I don't think they're going to get any better. I think they should be getting better faster, because women have got to stop doubting themselves. Statistics show that a man will go for a job that he's part qualified for, whereas a woman wouldn't even put an application in. And I think, personally, regulation has taken us too far the wrong way. So I don't think people can sit in an interview and be open and honest about, I'm a female, I've come for this role, I've seen the job spec, I can do 4 of those tasks, but I probably need training on the 5th. I don't think they can have that open dialogue. I don't think they can turn around and say, I'm engaged, I'm going to get married, I'm going to have kids within 4 years.
There's a very big don't ask, don't tell, isn't there?
Yeah.
On both sides.
Yeah. It's well, we can't ask. You can't even ask people their age. People are refusing to do very basic medical questionnaires at first interview stage. But, I had a girl that started with me, and she was allergic to dust. The last place you want to work is in my industry, waste management, if you're allergic to dust. Yeah. She lasted a day.
Oh, wow.
But, if you had opened up to that in the interview, we would have dealt with it a lot quicker.
It's just not a fit, yeah.
Yeah. So I think things have gone completely too far, and we need to come back to common sense. We need to have open dialogue where we're not frightened to talk about it and we're not frightened to ask about it.
Yeah, I think things have got a lot better, but there is still a lot of stuff, especially around childcare and especially around, pregnancy and mat leave. My wife is just finished up mat leave now, and even the whole thing around, can you talk about this? Can you not talk about that? Yeah. Can we ask you this? Can we not ask you that? It's frustrating on both sides.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And it does hold people back.
It does. And I think it holds both back, the employee and the employer. Because if the employer knew what the employee was thinking or doing, they could make contingency plans for that period that they're going to have off. But when it's sort of thrown on you and you've got maybe 4 months left before they disappear, if you've got the 4 months, it just halts that whole shit. What are we going to do? She's going to be gone.
You see it on both sides. You see it as an employer and a person who's had your son. How did you find that when you had him and then you're trying to balance work? What was that experience like?
Horrendous. So I got married in my 30s. I had my son. I had postnatal depression. So that ended the marriage. And I had it for 3.5 years. And being from an Irish family, you don't talk about those things because, of course, parents of days gone by had 13, 15 children and got on with it. Just get on with it. You've only got one. So it wasn't something that was discussed. Looking back, if it was discussed, I probably would have been worse, I think, myself personally. Other people probably would have preferred to talk about it. But yeah, my mother helped me bring up my mother and my sister and my niece. Helped bring up my son. So he's been brought up in a household full of strong women.
That's powerful.
And that is powerful. He would never think of underestimating a woman. But he was at secondary school. He was probably about 15. Never forget this. And I had a really nice car. And I always dropped him off at school. Always dropped him off at school. And there used to be a half moon shape driveway. And I pulled into the half moon shape. When you get to the end, he jumps out, you drive off. And he got out of the car and his mates went, "Oh, I love your mum's car. What's your dad do for a living?" And he went, "It's my mum, actually." And he walked off.
Nice.
And it was like, I just don't get it. I just don't get what that is. And you mean he's 24 now, so that's 9 years ago. It's not.
It's not that long ago. And not a million years ago.
No.
Yeah.
So he's extremely proud that I am a female in a male-dominated industry, and he gets a real buzz from it. I think he also feels a little bit under pressure from it.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, I think he does. Now he's an only child. I never remarried, and I didn't have any more children. He's an only child, so he sees me with my siblings, and although I'm the youngest, I actually look after everything to do with my siblings, all their medical appointments, doctor's appointments. I've been extremely lucky that I've got my mother's genes, and in the O'Donovan side there's a heart issue, so all my 3 siblings have had strokes. Now they're all fine. You would never know unless you were told, but they all do need checkups, and I have to keep an eye on them all, and family trips. Everything. I do everything. And people say to me, "How do you manage to keep all these balls going, and how are you so organised?" But I am just super organised. I haven't got OCD, but I just can organise things.
Is that your decisiveness again? Is that you're like, just make a decision, move on, get it done?
Give me a question, I'll give you an answer. End of. I ain't going to procrastinate. It's a waste of time.
Things to be doing. People be seeing, decisions to be made.
Exactly. Places to go.
Talk to me then about, I suppose, what we call it? Act 2?
Act 2. Part 2.
Part 2, which is kind of coming soon, kind of now. Chapter 2. I think there's a lot of chapters in this book. Talk to me. Thank you for being so open, by the way. I just want to address that before we move on. Thank you for being so open about your son, because there's a lot of taboo things, and I think only by talking about things on podcasts like this do we actually get to kind of break that taboo a little bit.
I don't get the taboo bit. I don't understand why, people don't think that talking about postnatal depression is not normal. It's something that happens. So the more we talk about it, surely the more we help people that have got it. It's like mental health, isn't it? Yeah,
it's societal as well. Like before we had our daughter, we had 2 miscarriages. And I spoke about it then on the podcast, and the amount of people who were like, "Yep, us too." Yeah, very close friends of mine. I'd never known.
Wow.
Very close. And never known. It's this suffer in silence thing. It's partly Irish, I think.
It's a very Irish thing.
Very Irish thing again. That sure, look, as you said, just get on with it. Don't be talking about that.
Yeah.
Don't be talking about family issues. Don't be speaking outside the house. It is changing though. I do see kind of like the younger generation like far more open about the mental health, far more open about decisions they're making. I think it is changing. It is good. I think
it is changing, but it needs to change and then stop at a certain point. I think.
Talk to me about that.
Again, it's the menopause. So thankfully, touch wood, I never got it, never got any symptoms, and I know I'm extremely lucky. I know an awful lot of women that have suffered dreadfully with different symptoms, and the symptoms are range from all sorts. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But it's now, I got the menopause, I'm a victim. And that is where you take it too far. It's a cycle that happens in most females. Men need to be aware of it. So talk to the men. Yeah. There's no point having a menopause conversation with a room full of women.
Exactly.
And I don't get why the women want to talk about it with women and why they don't want to share it with the men. Because if they share it with the men, can you imagine people in boardrooms? I just see lots of non-exec directors or CEOs sitting in boardrooms suddenly going flush red and people looking and thinking, well, what's wrong with them? Because they're in a hot flush. But if they were able to talk about that and the men understood that, they'd understand that it passes after a few minutes and that nothing happens. It just comes and goes. But I think it's, again, a taboo subject.
Yeah.
And it's then going from a taboo subject to the other extreme of being, I'm a victim. And then that's when common sense goes again. I think there's a middle line, and I think, we really do need to start bringing things back into the middle line, or otherwise, what's going to happen to the likes of my kids' kids? My son's children, where they're not going to come outside of the room.
Yeah, it's debilitating after a point. If you're afraid of everything, it's
totally
debilitating.
Yeah.
I think it's a great point, though. Awareness is power, because if generally people are sound. Again, it goes back to the original point. Generally, people are sound.
Yeah.
Everyone has got a sister or a mom.
Yep.
Everyone knows, okay, this is how it's affecting them. Great. Knowledge is power. But again, it's having those conversations in the right rooms. No point having it in the closed boardrooms where you're like, it's only us, we can talk about it. And then you go back out and you might feel better in the moment, but nothing is truly changed. I think more openness. We're finally getting to chapter 2. Finally.
Yeah.
So you're coming to the end of the earn out now.
Yeah.
What's next?
What's next?
You made a very bold statement to me off camera, so we're gonna have to explore that a little bit.
Oh, what's next? I actually haven't got enough hours in a day to do what's next. I have got some ambitions and goals and projects. So I have got an initiative that I can't share for obvious reasons. That is
We're going to have to... You're just trying to get back on, aren't you? You're just trying to lay the groundwork to come back on in 6 months.
I'm going to... Well, yeah, maybe, yeah. We might be in Cuba or Mexico or Antigua or
if
somewhere.
You fly
maybe.
me, Jacqui, I'll be there, all right? You send the O'Donovan jet, I'm there.
I am going to change the face of waste management globally. And that's all I'm going to say on that piece. But watch this space, yeah. And it's...
I'm going to clip that now and I'll play it to you I'll email it in 6 months.
It's an innovation program. It's just... It's quite simple, but it's just so unique. And it's just, again, keep it simple. And that's how I do everything. I just look at the simplicity of things and think, why doesn't anybody do that? So, yeah, I've got that many ideas.
That's a new business?
No, yeah, new business, yeah.
Okay.
I have got probably 15 new businesses up here. I'm currently looking for a project manager to be able to send them off to do the groundwork for all these projects that I want to do. And there's so many. I never actually knew how entrepreneurial I was until we sold the business.
That's interesting.
And they just come. I wake up in the morning, I've got another idea. And like my PA's like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going forward, backwards, upside down. She just can't keep up with me. There's just idea after idea after idea. And I've never, ever not succeeded in something I've put my mind to.
Are you going to give us any teasers on any of them? Are you going to give us any kind of insights into what they're going to be? First of all, if anyone's listening and wants to be Jacqui's project manager, get in touch. That's number one, because I'll be lashing a CV into that one myself.
Yeah,
but
it's just, it goes from AI technology to sports to drinks. So I'm going to bring out a drink. I'm going to bring out snacks.
What kind of drink?
Oh, I can't tell you that.
Oh, you really are angling up the second appearance.
I've got to be careful, you've got a lot of people listening to me. I don't want people pipping me to the post before I get my project manager, but they are just so far from AI to a simplistic snack to a little pillow with lavender to put you to sleep.
Where are these ideas coming from? Do you think it's just been pent up all this time from all the experience you've been gaining?
I think I'm so focused. When I do something, I put my whole energy behind it, and I think I've just had my whole mindset in waste management. and the business for the last 36 years, going on 37, that I've never had the brain space, the mind space to be able to think about anything other than doing it. I'm one of these people that best practice isn't good enough. I've got to go above it.
Okay.
So everything I do is above best practice. So I've been focused solely on that for 36 years. And now I know that I've got to do something else because I'm far too young to retire. I couldn't sit on a beach on a sunbed for longer than probably maximum 10 days. I've never had a 2-week holiday in my life.
Really?
And I never could because I think I'd go loopy. So, yeah.
Was there anything you did for yourself? I want to come back to that in a second. But was there anything you did for yourself after you sold to kind of like reward yourself? Was there any treat?
Yeah, no. I tell you what, I did promise myself that I would buy myself an Oscar de la Renta dress. And I've yet to go to the shop and buy it.
Okay.
Because I haven't had time. Because I'm so busy.
50% of our audience are like, oh my God, the other 50 are like Googling as we speak.
Yeah, what's an Oscar de la Renta? Yeah, Daniel asked me. I said it in Daniel's interview. And he went, have you bought the de la Renta? Oscar de la Renta, Daniel.
Okay, so that's going to be your treat. And you still haven't got it for yourself?
I still haven't got it, no.
Why not?
I haven't had time. You
haven't had time?
No. So I have one thing I can share with you that I've done. So I've opened up a PR, media and marketing company.
Okay.
So I chose an MD, female MD, not deliberately, just happened that way.
Yeah.
And she was based in New Zealand. And unfortunately, she thought she could jump back on a plane and come back to England because she left with COVID. But it wasn't that simple. So she's just in town now. So we're just getting the website and everything together, brainstorming. So in January that will launch.
What's that going to do? PR, media marketing?
PR and marketing.
With an angle on anything or just?
No. Everybody seems to think I'm going to stick to construction. I'm not. I'm gonna probably allow a maximum of 2 of the same companies. So I'll allow 2 construction companies. But I think there's a conflict then after that. And it will be open to anybody and everybody that wants to do good PR and marketing.
Why is this your first one? That seems like an unusual one for your first one.
Do you know why? Because do you follow O'Donovan Waste?
I do not.
If you look at O'Donovan Waste on the media side, the posts, the interviews, the social media, I think of the idea. I give it to the marketing director.
Right.
So she puts the meat on the bones. I give her the bones. She puts the meat on, and then I trim the fat. So the idea is from here.
Okay.
So I've got a natural flair. So I get anywhere between 120 to 170,000 likes, views every month.
Wow.
So I've obviously got a
flair
talent there and a flair for PR and marketing. So for me, it was a no-brainer.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense.
I think that no matter what industry you're in, it's exactly the same. It's like if I employ a financial director, it doesn't matter if you've not got experience in waste, because money has to come in, money has to go out. It's the same. And I think PR and marketing is the same, only it's a different product or a different service. So that's starting, and then the production team will follow. So podcasts, mini videos.
We're going to do London this year, so
videos, advertising for the clients, that sort of thing. So that is already up and running.
Okay, so you're going to layer on those on top.
Yeah, so that's ODPR.
ODPR. You
kept
it simple with the name as well.
Yeah, very simple. I intend to helicopter into all these little projects.
Okay.
I don't intend to immerse myself completely. Right. I want variety.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do a lot of work here in Ireland as well. Like you're back over quite a bit. How often are you back?
At the moment, nearly once a week.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's really important that I share my story to inspire women and youth. I think education is the key. So I'm doing quite a bit in that area with different universities here to see how I can spread the word in the UK. I do a bit with Network Ireland, which is a female network. And and there's different counties. So I was a keynote speaker at the Cork event. Then
Of course.
I was on the panel at the awards night it was a panel discussion during the day, and then the awards were that evening. So I spoke at that event. I spoke for an artist at Goffs. That was real fun. I loved that. I created a real storm at that. My honesty was refreshing, I was told.
Good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of... We had Michael Corcoran, he used to be the ex-head of social at Ryanair, on a few weeks ago.
Right.
And people loved it. And the biggest comment was, no corporate bullshit.
No.
He kept saying that himself. And as a result, everyone just responded to it because he just spoke directly. He spoke at a super high level. He goes, this is the way the social is. But then he broke it down going, and this is what it really means. And I was just like, the strategy was just up here, but he was able to go, this is how it really works. This is how we actually do it. This is day to day. There's someone doing this, there's someone doing that. Very few people can do that. Very few people can, exactly like you said at the very start, take the complex and make it simple.
Yeah.
Everyone feels, and I think you touched on something really interesting there. You know, men in the room maybe don't have the full comfort about what their knowledge is, and maybe might be overreaching a little bit.
Yep.
And people make it sound super complex because if they don't ask questions, then they'll never know I'm full of shit. There's definitely, and that's why I love doing this podcast. And they're an hour, and there's very few set questions. It's just a chat, very simple, honest. And I say this all the time in the podcast. That's why I love getting people like yourself on, who are examples and role models, because you have to see it to be it. I really believe that you have to be able to see it and go, Jackie's just like me. Oh, that resonates with me. I've just had my son. Whatever it is, if there's one person listening that gets that moment for like, that's it. That's the one answer.
Yeah. If I inspire one person, then that's a positive.
But it's just realness, isn't it? Like
it
business, you can take it seriously, but not take yourself seriously.
Yeah, I don't, and I think because of the fact that the company did extremely well. It's a massive name in the London construction sector. I think so when the sales director wants to go out for lunch and, do you want to join us? Yeah, I'll join you. And then I will leave them to have their last few hours together drinking their wine. And the first thing out of every single one of the clients' mouth to the sales director is, she's nothing like I thought she was going to be.
Interesting.
And I can put however much you want on it every single time, because I think people have this perception of me, and I don't know. So my nickname's Queen Jacqueline because they reckon it's easier to get there. Well,
it rhymes as well. It's a good start.
Yeah, it was easier to get a hold of a queen than to get through to me. So I have got, my PA is extremely good at keeping the cold calls away. Sometimes a little bit probably too strong on it, but I am. What you see now is what you'll see if you meet me at the embassy, or in the airport, or in the college.
You're on the honours list now, though. In fairness, Queen Jacqueline, you're
Yeah,
not far off. You're moving on up the list.
I am. The 19th of December, I get bestowed the OBE at Windsor Castle.
What was that like?
Yeah,
That's a bit mad, isn't it?
hasn't. Yeah, I don't think that's quite hit me yet. So it's for services, recycling, and safety. So the fact it was for my work has meant an enormous amount for me. So it's been the pat on the back to say, actually, do you know what? All your work in the last 36 years has paid off. You have made a change to the industry. You have made it safer. You've done your job. And that now couldn't have come at a better time for me. And then back in, I think it was 2017, 2018, Michael D gave me the Presidential Award for my work with the Irish in London with regards to my charity work. So, yeah, I...
Gonna need a bigger mantelpiece.
Well, I apparently have got a better cabinet than most football teams.
Do you support football? Do you have a team?
No, not really. No, my one brother's Tottenham, one brother's Arsenal. So it gets a little bit
spicy
heated when
in
the
the
North
family.
London derby happens. No, my son played rugby for the Saracens till he was 18.
Oh, wow.
And when he was 15, he said, I don't know what I want to do in life, but I want to go to university in America.
Oh, unusual.
Very, because I never holidayed in America. I took him to Disney once and that was it. So I'm not really sure where that love of America came. So he went
Wanted to make his own path, maybe.
Yeah, no, I don't think. I don't know. It was just an America thing he had. So he went. And so I was saying about my son was went to America, done the rugby. They won the All American Rugby Championship in the first year.
That's brilliant.
And he had 5 years there. And
What part of America is he in?
In DC, Washington.
Oh, cool.
He wanted to go to the West Coast, and I said no.
Too far?
Too far. You know, think about if you get a rugby injury and I'm on an aeroplane for 14 hours. So you're going to have to stick
Very
to
logical.
the East Coast. Yeah.
Washington's a cool city, isn't it, though?
Yeah. He was just outside of it in Fredericksburg, which has got real Irish ties.
Okay.
In years gone by with the war, and he absolutely loved it. I went once a month to see him.
Wow, nice.
I went on a Friday and did all his washing and came back on the red eye Sunday.
No way.
Got changed.
Friday to Sunday.
Yeah, got changed on the plane and straight to work. Never bothered me. Absolutely went like a dream. Yeah, we have got a serious bond, me and my son. You know, people see us out and they just, you know, we bounce off each other, we laugh, we giggle, we FaceTimed every day when he was in America.
Is he back?
Yeah, he's back. Yeah, he's back now, probably a year and a half now.
What's he want to do?
He's got a really exciting idea that I can't share with you.
One of the 50. Look, we're having you back.
I tell you,
we're having you back.
Have me back next year.
Christmas special. Look, we're doing
Yeah.
it. Christmas special in London
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
Queen Jacqueline. We're making it happen.
Yeah, he has got a fantastic idea. And he's 25 in March. And I said to him recently, just thinking about, what do you want for your big birthday? What do you want? And he said, do you know what I want, Mum? He said, I want you to give me advice and mentor me through this project. And I went, no problem.
Nice.
Yeah. So that to me was, I done my job well with him.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to just touch on 19th of December.
Yep.
What happens when you get OBE?
Well, I get invited to a castle.
Okay.
I'm hoping it's going to be King Charles because he's passionate about sustainability. I have to get dressed up, and I'm very proud to say I will be in an Irish designer. Louise Kennedy has dressed me with a Philip Tracy hat, and I will be pinned with a red medal and some very nice photographs, hopefully. And I get to go and celebrate. And I have been extremely lucky that Gucci have given me the Gucci suite at the Savoy as a present for the OBE.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
This is going to be a big day.
It is going to be a big day.
That's
yeah?
magic, though.
That is magic, yeah.
You don't strike me as someone that would, like, allow yourself to celebrate too much. You seem to be very much an on to the next one kind of person.
Do you know what? I think I'm more excited about the Gucci suite of the Savoy for the people that I can share it with, that will never get the opportunity to have experienced it. I am seriously lucky at the places I've been to. So I've been to the White House at Christmas to see the Christmas decorations. So I like to share those things on social media because people will never get those experiences. So I think it's really important to share them, to show that, you know, Joe Bloggs that came from nothing gets to go to these places. You know,
through your work as well, through graft.
For the stars,
I think that's important. It's through graft. It's not through luck. It's not through whatever.
No,
it's through
all
graft.
through graft. Yeah, no, it's hard work and graft, and I think I've got a bit of an infectious personality, and people tend to like that.
I could definitely agree with that after spending nearly 2 hours in your presence now.
And you know, I do like a giggle, and I think people like my honesty. Some people can get quite stunned with my directness, and other people actually appreciate that I'm direct. So yeah, I'm the real deal, I suppose.
You talked about that being direct. Like, do people take that the wrong way?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, run a mile.
Really?
That's why I can't find a man.
But I think
any bachelors, please apply.
We'll put the application form in the show notes for Jacqueline, and you can come to the special next year. How do you, when you're mentoring, like, you know, that directness, how you just give it as it is? You just say, this is what I think, and you know, because of what you've done.
Yep. And if they don't like it, then I'm not the mentor for them.
Yeah.
I had one lady that asked me to mentor her, and she was older than me actually, and she was a NED, non-executive director, on various boards. So I was quite taken that she actually wanted me to mentor her. She'd listened to me speak for International Women's Day. And first thing I said to her was, the opening paragraph of your CV is shit. And I never heard from her again. So, honesty is the best policy. I mean, it didn't sell her very well at all. And I could see why she was struggling in the non-executive director space, because, if you want to be in that space and you want that variety, and I get that people want to go and do different things, then you need to, that first statement needs to say something very bold about you, and it was very wishy-washy. But yeah, never heard from her again.
I think the startup world is very wishy-washy. There's a lot of people in the startup world. We talked about it earlier about mentors who've never run a business.
Yeah,
the world is full of them. The world needs more Jacquelines who just go, yeah, this is how it is. Not how I think it is. It's not how I read it in the book of what the book says it should be. There's a lot of people, especially online, who are like, I was listening to a podcast on the way in, and your man's like, I can learn it over like 24 hours, then I can teach it to someone. I'm like, that's not really what it's meant to be about. No. It's meant to be like about proper hard learning. I think I'd love to see apprenticeships come back, especially for the likes of founders and startups. I think that an apprenticeship program to become a founder would be huge, because there is nothing.
Of course, I mean, even in England, there's not anything. There is an apprenticeship levy in England now, but it's try and tap into it. You need a master's degree. I mean, it's just. And
especially founders who are generally non-traditional backgrounds, who mightn't have finished school or might have struggled at school. So like having an academic tie to it doesn't really work, because then you're just getting academic people to become founders. Going to do our quick fire round.
Sorry, just before you go to the quick fire round. So one of a serial entrepreneur that's quite big in England at the moment is Stephen Bartlett.
I interviewed him 2 weeks ago. A little name drop there. Yeah.
Did you? Oh right, okay. He's got something. I think it's on Instagram where he says that every entrepreneur should fail. I totally disagree with him. I've never failed. Well,
that's a common thing, though. That you got to fail to really have your stripes.
No, I'm sorry. I've never failed, and I don't intend to fail.
You've had micro failures though, right? You've done little things. Hiccups. You've gone, that didn't work.
Yeah, I think
Is it the branding of the failure you don't like, or what is it?
I think it's the strength he puts behind. You have to fail. Well, failure isn't in my vocabulary. I don't fail. Lessons. I think you need to learn lessons.
Yeah.
And if you don't fall and pick yourself up, and dust yourself off, you learn on that. If I wrapped my son in cotton wool, he'd never learn anything. So, when he wanted to buy his first car, I wasn't going to buy it for him. You go out and pick your first car. You go and do the deal. You wheel and deal. And it probably cost me a little bit extra to have that, for him to have that experience. But I let him have that experience, but not failure.
I think failure sounds final. And I think that's the difference we need to distinguish. That's why I called it the entrepreneur experiment, because I believe business is just experiments. Try it. Didn't go right, tweak it, try it again. And the biggest thing is just to keep going. That's what I said about the consistency piece. It's definitely, I think failure does sound final.
It is final. It's like, it hasn't worked, it's failed, throw it away.
It's probably wrapped up in the school thing again.
Maybe,
you failed your exams, bad. I think we can probably detangle it to something else. Lessons.
Yeah.
100%. Perfect. We'll do our quick fire round. I also loved your directness on this. Your PA wrote back and go, 1, 2, and 5 not relevant. The rest are fine.
Straight to the point.
I love that though. I love when people are direct. It's just great. It just saves you kind of the fluffy thing.
Saves the time.
Jacqui, what have you sacrificed to achieve your success?
Sacrificed? Nothing. I haven't sacrificed anything. I've been to every rugby game my son has played in, including the ones in America. Taking him to school every morning. So no, I haven't sacrificed anything.
I love that. Real answer. It comes back to the martyr thing we talked about earlier. People like to pretend that it's tough. Everything's a choice.
A choice, yeah.
Everything is a choice. I say that all the time. Everything is a choice. You've chosen that. Don't feel sorry for that person. They've chosen that. What would you do today if I give you 10 million?
What would I do today if you gave me 10 million?
Wonder where the other 100 million went.
Yeah. Wonder why you're giving me such a small amount since you got so much. I would do various things with it. I would spread it about. I would share it. I would pump it into machines that would generate more money for causes. I think instead of people giving charities and schools, universities, groups money, I think they should put it into vehicles that make more money, so it's a constant flow of money. Yeah.
Teach a man to fish for a day. Yeah.
I might buy me Oscar de la Renta.
10 million.
Then give the rest
I'm
away.
definitely Googling that after this. I'll ask my wife later.
Yeah.
Is this a good present? I'm going to give you 1 million, but you can only invest it in one company or person. Who would you invest it in?
Myself.
Jacqui's chapter 2. One of your 15. You'd have to pick which one you're going to put it into. If you had to start a new company in the morning, what would it be?
I can't tell you. Ask me that one next year.
What do you believe that other people would strongly disagree with or find strange?
That it's not achievable. Everything's achievable. I don't believe in the word as the word can't. I think that word everything can be done.
What's one thing in your personal life you spend money on that brings you intense happiness or joy?
In my personal life, it isn't. It's time with my son. Yeah, not money. Time with my son. Yeah. Yeah.
You can definitely buy time. I think you've expressed it there, doing the red eye over and back. Like they're the kind of investments that actually matter.
Yeah.
What's your one final piece of advice to every potential entrepreneur or entrepreneur listening?
Never ever doubt your gut reaction. Yeah. In the early years, I probably wavered. Now, not in a million years. I know what my gut's telling me.
How do you fine-tune that in?
You just get that feeling in your gut and never ever ignore it, because it's there for a reason.
Queen Jacqueline, thank you so much.
Thank you for
having me. That was
a
phenomenal chat. Thank you so much. And we are doing part 2 next year.
Part 2.
Done. Thank you so much. Where can people learn a little bit more about yourself or connect in with you?
www.o'donovan.co.uk or www.o'donovanfamily.co.uk. Nice. So that the family history continues, and we will continue to put our Throwback Thursdays up. Everybody loves Throwback Thursdays.
Brilliant. Jacqueline, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Made it all the way to the end. Click here to subscribe to the channel. Click here to listen to last week's interview. We do these interviews every single week, so hit subscribe. I'll see you in a few days.